All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a little while. It's been a little while since a lot of things. I haven't played Saint, and I've noticed that there's been activity. So I want to do the run too. Is it a real run? No. Will I ever do real speedruns? I don't know. But I kind of just want to mess around with some movement stuff. And okay, off to a great start. And this popcorn is random. You just have to wait until it pops. So apparently there's some stuff here. If you hold down... I don't remember what it was exactly. Maybe you can go faster. I'm actually gonna exit to change a setting. Remix wall pouncing. I don't like to have wall pouncing for Saints. Maybe it's situationally useful, but most of the time it's annoying. Actually, I'm also going to do this, which maybe I'll talk about that later. Hello. Welcome to the stream. Good to see I've gotten better. So I was sick for a while. I still kind of am. Maybe you could tell with my voice. It was less that I was like really sick and I couldn't do anything. I probably still could have streamed, but I could not talk at all. My voice was very gone. So now it's like maybe good enough to stream. So welcome in everyone. I'm not a huge fan of this movement in this room. Maybe grab the pole first, because you don't want to be in that like constant state. Yeah, maybe that's good. You could save file. What does that mean? I do use a different save file for speedruns, but it doesn't really matter. I actually deleted all my save files recently. Yeah, this is a, well, it's not really a speedrun. I have mods on. But I'm doing the same routes. The title doesn't specify. I don't really do that anymore. I mean, if I said this was a speedrun, it wouldn't actually be very accurate. I'm not really doing a run. I guess this is a speedrun practice, but I don't know if I'm gonna do a real run in the end. I hope you have completed Staying yourself. The way that Stained works, the fact that you start at a very low karma and you need to collect echoes to increase your karma, there's like a specific path you need to take to get echoes to open up new regions. Eventually we need to make our way over to Moon and Pebbles, do stuff over there, and then go down to Rubicon. How did I spawn there? You can use your tongue to enter a shelter and then pull yourself out of the shelter. I did it at the very start of the run. And if you fall, basically once the shelter starts closing, you eventually will fall asleep. So if you can get the shelter to start closing, exit the room, and then fall asleep, you will wake up in that room that you fell asleep in. So you like quickly run out of the room, but you respawn in that other room, which ends up being faster because you don't have to like wait for the shelter to open up. But it's only useful in that one shelter because the shelter exit has to be going upwards. You can't like tongue directly like sideways or downwards, you know, you can only tongue upwards. And also the spawn location, like where you spawn in the room that you sleep in, it's kind of strange. In some rooms it like puts you in a wall, sometimes it puts you in like some other weird location that ends up being slower. It's like pretty convenient in that one room. We are right next to the exits. So I've heard that there's been some innovation with yeeks. So we pick up this yeek in order to cross the worm grass in Farm Raise. Instead of using reindeer. Yeeks are very inconsistent. You put in a lot of effort just to get them to work the way you want them to. map faster roll. Yeah, I did see that. I didn't test it out though. So I I use a mod that lets me do a fast roll, which is because I play on keyboard. If you're on controller and you like need to hold down to do a roll, but if you hold down at a specific angle, like horizontal, like not very downwards, I mean, on a controller, then you do a fast roll, which is faster than a normal roll, but also it lets you pick up items because you can't pick up items when you're holding down. You end up dropping them instead. And you can also start a fast roll sooner. If you're like jumping from, like, I'll actually show it right here. If I jump off of this one block, whoops, I need to get rid of the geek. If I jump off of this and I hold down, I can't do a roll, right? But if I hold the fast roll button, I can do a roll just from this small jump, right? So apparently you can use the map button. I don't know how this works. You have to hold it or... that poor Yeek. It's on the Discord somewhere. One of these messages. Do you need to do a specific input? Yeah, I don't know how it works, but it's kind of funny. Anything like that exists. There's also apparently something you can do here to get the yeeks to move faster, because on the very next cycle you want to pick up a yeek, but they sometimes get stuck in like little tunnels and it's hard to get one of them to come out. I don't remember the strategy. Is it like wait longer in the shelter room or like exit out of the game? I don't know. Do something interesting. As you see here, that yeek is like way down there. These yeeks, they're way down there. Like all the yeeks in this room are in bad spots. If I exit out, I guess because the shelter takes longer to open here, right? Is that what causes it? Also, the YouTube chat was not updating, so I cannot see your messages for a while. No, actually, that made it take longer for them to come out. Hold nap until you're on the ground. Keyboard on console. I'll try that out a little bit. Is it like wait in this room for a little bit? Oh, there he is. I don't know if that was the reason why. I want to mess around with this fast roll thing a little bit more. Peak gameplay where nothing is happening. Okay, well, I don't understand the inputs there. And does anyone know what it was? I think this was also in the Discord. I feel like we should have some sort of resource to put all this information in that isn't the Discord server. Like, oh yeah, that one little bit of information that someone shared, but it's like buried like 200 messages deep in the Discord. Probably like several thousand messages eventually, you know? "40 minutes of crafting as Gourmand," yep. There's a potential strategy here of doing a hand swap glitch with a spore puff to kill any spiders that get in your way here. I might try that. Maybe I should store a spore puff in my stomach so I can spit it out in the shelter and then do the glitch. And it wouldn't, since I visit an echo on the cycle, I don't lose it after seeing the echo, right? So I can keep it for in case like a centipede shows up, maybe. Yes. The yeek got out. Like there's a way to make it like fast rolling more consistent with a yeek. It's somewhere in this server. Hold jump to do jumps. Do I understand this? Considered going back to some of my downpour speedruns to try to improve the time. Oh my goodness, YouTube chat. I mean, I'm not talking about you guys, I'm talking about YouTube itself. Because like it takes so long for the messages to update. So I missed a bunch of messages again. What the heck? But yeah, hello everyone who's joining. I'm doing like a speedrun sort of where I'm looking into some of the new like tech that has been discovered in this run. And eventually, yeah, yeah, it's a speedrun. I'm doing speedrun stuff. That's kind of cool. So, oh, okay, there's those spiders here. Maybe I'll do the spore puff stuff later. Oh, the stream dropped some frames. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. Some things never change. Yeah, the routes that I'm following is very planned out. Oh my goodness. Except for the dying to the wormgrass. That's not part of the routes. Nice. That's a really good boost you want to get. Except you don't want to go too far. I kind of overshot that. I keep like grabbing onto stuff with the tongue right when I like really don't want to. And then they died of wormgrass. Unfortunate. Feels like a weird route. Is it strange? What's strange about it? I need to get echoes. Because eventually I need to get every single echo in the game, except for one of them. But one of the echoes is in like a really out of the way, like kind of hidden location, so we just ignore that one. So I'm basically just trying to get all the echoes. We got the one in Sky Islands and Chimney, and we just now got the one in Farm Rays. Now we need to get the one in Subterranean right here. I think you can get the Subterranean and Farm Rays ones in either order. It doesn't really matter which one you do first. Yep, the next echo is drainage, so we're going down to Subterranean. Both to get the drainage echo, but also to get to the shoreline. Because there's a connection to the shoreline right after this. Oh, I was so close. And in shoreline, we can get to the echoes. Or the iterators, but also there's also echoes. One next to Moon, one next to Pebbles. This room right here, this is like the worst room in the whole run, except for maybe Rubicon. Hate this room. There's always like 5 creatures here, like a caramel. I think there's a caramel lizard. There's like a centipede. There's spiders. There's mole lizards. There's scavengers. Just every single creature that could possibly be in your way. I have a mod right now that disables creatures because I just want to do the run. I don't want to die a whole bunch. We're getting all the echoes. We're not getting the one in submerged superstructure, because that's really out of the way and you're supposed to like have the ability already to get that one so they can swim faster. Whoops, I think that's the wrong route. Go up here first. when you enter this next room, 90% of the time there's a spitter spider right here, right after the exit. So you like to throw a rock right when you enter the room. I need to learn this room better. It's so dark in that little part, it's hard to see where I'm going. Okay, I haven't gotten a chance to talk about this. There's a little bit of news about the Watcher. Basically, they said it's gonna be cool, but it's not. It's gonna be incomplete in some sense. Also, that the console release will be a separate thing, which I think is maybe the most concerning part. Because I think they originally said that they were going to release it on all platforms at the same time. But that is no longer true. Which is it's sad, because I know that some of you guys play on console and you're gonna be missing out for who knows how long. And it might be really hard to avoid spoilers, especially if I want to like do streams with like speedruns and stuff. If you really want to avoid spoilers, you might have to like stay disconnected from the community for a very long time, which is I don't like that. But I guess it was kind of the same with Downpour, wasn't it? Yeah, they're rushed. I think they determined the release date too early, and they're like, shoot, we can only release some of it. Although, I don't think that it will release incomplete, as in there will be the full, or at least like the main like campaign or story or whatever. All of that will be complete in the PC release, I think. My source is like a random like reply to a Reddit post, so like I'm not 100% confident about this, but I think that they also said one of the not one of the devs, but like someone on the team, I don't know. They basically said, yes, the full like the release will be complete in the sense of like the story, but there's like ARG stuff that is like gonna be in like the later releases. I don't know. I don't know. Well, actually, let me go look at the posts directly, so I'm not making stuff up. The Watcher release on PC on March 28th, but that will not be the whole story. We have multiple updates planned, and the final arc of the Watcher will conclude with the console release. So, it's a bit vague. I think worse. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's good or bad, because there's a possibility that what that means is that we'll play through the campaign, and then at some point it'll be like it'll just end abruptly and be like, all right, the rest will come later. Or maybe there will be an ending, but it won't be like the real ending, and we like won't really get to continue. Like a halfway point sort of thing. Like imagine Spearmaster's campaign, okay? Imagine you're playing Spearmaster's campaign, and you go to Pebbles, and you get the you get the pearl for Pebbles, and you go to Moon, and you give it to Moon, and she like talks about the whole thing, and she's like, all right, deliver the pearl to communications array, and then the game just ends. That's the ending. And the whole, I mean, obviously there's not much content left at that point. You know, there's not really much interesting stuff that happens when you bring it to the communications array. But you know, we would be missing out on like that last communication that Moon sent out, right? So that could be what it means, that like that real ending section will be missing. Or like Saints, like what if Saints ended the moment you entered Rubicon, and we had to wait for an update to release like all of Rubicon, right? Oh man, YouTube chat is really being difficult right now. I would really, but I don't know. I don't think I'd like to see that. It might be like, what if Survivor's campaign released as it was in vanilla, and then later they released like Outer Expanse. And technically, like, the Outer Expanse ending for Survivor is part of the story, right? But it's not like the real ending. I think the optimistic view is that we get a full campaign, and then in a later update we get like an extra full campaign, you know. And that, you know, we're still gonna get a full a thing to play through when it initially releases, and we just get more to play through later, right? Instead of the worst case scenario of we don't even have one full thing to play through, right? Where it ends in like the middle of the campaign and saying like, sorry, we're not finished yet. That would really suck. I feel like it'd be really it'd be an awful idea for them to do that. I think I have to ignore the jetfish here. I think they cause more problems. I feel like they should have been a little bit more clear. I think they just really didn't want to avoid pushing back the release date completely. They already reviewed it in the trailer. Like, we have to release it at this time, even if it's not finished. I think, what is the route here? I think I go to Moon. I go to Moon to get the Echo, then I go to Pebbles to get the Echo, then I... Yeah, I just like shoot there too. Yep, hello. Welcome to the stream. Free name. And it also kind of muddies things up with like how do I approach the DLC? Because I don't want to stream it for everyone who wants to play it without spoilers. That's something that I don't like. And I feel like people are going to stream it instantly. You know, we're going to see videos and playthroughs and streams and stuff of The Watcher like within like 2 hours, you know. And it's like, if I don't want people to feel like they're missing out, like, oh, all these people are doing stuff, I want to like watch these views, I want to be a part of this, and maybe ruin my own experience. And now, like, especially with console players, like, How many of you guys in the chat right now, how many of you are only play Rainworld on console? And what do you think you would... would you like try to avoid spoilers completely, or would you just say like, oh, whatever? Because I'd feel like I'd be really missing out to like stay disconnected from the community. All like the YouTube videos and the live streams and the people talking in the Discord server. And just saying, nope, I have to avoid all of that for who knows how long, you know? Maybe like half a year or something like that. And you're kind of, at that point, you're kind of just saying, all right, I have to like stay away from Rainworld completely. Maybe I will try to still do some non-watcher. I mean, I'll be playing other games. I've quite the list of other games to play still outside of Rainworld. Maybe I'll still do some like Downpour or vanilla stuff. But like, what if the Watcher ends up being like really good for the speedrun, right? And the only thing that I want to do is stream speedruns of the Watcher, right? But what I was saying earlier, where I want to stream, or I don't want to stream the Watcher immediately, so that you guys can play the Watcher first, and then in like 1 week, 2 weeks, I don't know how long to wait exactly, but after some time we'll like come back together, and maybe I'll do a stream with the Watcher, and we'll all have played it already, and we can talk about spoilers freely, right? That's what I'd like to do ideally. I guess if the second release, if like the next updates, or I guess for if they're doing multiple updates that are like a significant amount of content, but also like what is that? For Rainworld, right? Are they adding like entire regions? Are they adding just like a few creatures and stuff? Because for base Rainworld, for vanilla, they did add some amount of content after the fact, right? We got the whole game, we got the iterators, the voids, we got like the whole ending, right? You could play through all of Rainworld. And then later they released Hunter and Monk, and then like a few extra creatures here and there, right? Like I think noodle flies were added in an update. And like egg bugs, as well as like all the Hunter exclusive creatures, right? So like King Vulture, Red Lizards, Red Centipede, Dropwigs too, I think. So they added a decent amount of content after the release of the game, but there was still a full game to play, right? If Rainpool like 1.0 or whatever the version was, if that released and I played it blind, I'd be very satisfied with it. And then later we would get more like, oh hey, Hunter campaign, right? It wouldn't feel like we're missing out on like the full story, right? Just because you're not seeing like Monk and Hunter and like a handful of extra creatures, even though I do think they add a lot to the game. I'm glad they exist. So that I think that is a good but like would I do another stream, or would I do like another recording is what I'm saying. If I wanted to avoid spoilers completely, would I do another like record my playthrough and don't stream it when like an update to the Watcher releases? I don't know. I don't know if the content will be significant enough for that, or if it's like, because I guess if the Hunter campaign just released, I would. Oh shoot, I need to eat here. I guess if the Hunter campaign released, I would want to not stream that and do it spoiler free. But the Hunter campaign is much less like content, you know. It's just like it's hard mode basically, and there's a few bits of lore of like, oh wow, Hunter was the one to like revive Moon, and all this other stuff happened with like, you know, that's cool. Those are cool like details that Hunter adds in, but it's not like a significant part of the story, right? The significant part of the story is the Survivor playthrough, and Hunter and Monk are just like some extra little bits here and there. 3 months. I don't want to wait for that long. But also, I don't know how many people will play the game immediately, right? I imagine that a lot of like Rain World fans will probably play the Watcher the moment it releases, and maybe they'll like play it until they beat it in like a few days, right? There's probably going to be a lot of people who do that, but there's also a lot of people who don't have that much free time, and it might take them like a few months. Like I know that there's I was kind of surprised at how many people took a very long time to beat the Downpour DLC, right? Because I beat it in like a few weeks, and that was also because I was streaming it and only streaming like 3 hours. So I think that if I wasn't streaming Downpour, I probably would have beaten it faster. Honestly, I was like slowing myself down. Like, you know, several months after Downpour released, people would come into the chat and be like, "Oh, I haven't beaten Saint yet." Like, what have you been doing all the time? Of course, there's everything that they could be doing instead of playing Rain World, but I don't know. If I'd streamed The Watcher after like 2 weeks, if I wait 2 weeks, there's probably still people who wouldn't have beaten it, or who haven't had the time to get around to it yet. I'll probably just say, if you take a long time to play the game and you want to avoid spoilers, you just need to actively not watch the streams. Hello. Oh, the stream is dead. Or it's lagging a lot. Thank you, OBS/internet/Twitch/ whatever it is. I think what would not be great, if there's people who want to, okay, I'll have to play Watcher when on the 28th or earlier. I don't think, I guess some people probably would want to wait until the full thing releases, yeah? Like with Deltarune. Because I know there's a decent amount of people. I've been very sick. That's why I've not streamed. Well, not very, it's a whole mess. But like for Deltarune, some people have said that they're not going to play Deltarune until the full thing releases, every chapter. Which, like, I hope you're still alive. Like, you're gonna be waiting a long time, right? Like, chapter 1 and 2 have released. People have played it and like enjoyed the game. People have made videos about it and streams and speedruns and all of this. And it's cool to be like, I mean, in the community. I'm not really in the Deltarune community, but I have, you know, enjoyed Deltarune content and played the game myself. But if you are a Deltarune, or if you're an Undertale fan and you're waiting for the whole thing to release, you're just gonna like no Deltarune content for like 10 years or however long it's gonna take, right? You just have to like completely disconnect yourself from that whole thing for so long. Yeah, we've been talking about this, Sean. I just really hope that there's a good full like a full experience when the Watcher releases. That I'll be able to play the game, beat it, and be like, that was a great DLC. And that later they will release more, and I'll be like, oh great, more content, right? 2 cakes, you know. That's what I hope, and I wish they made it more clear initially. And they just said in that announcement, like, hey, we're releasing the full thing, and we'll like that'd be like hype, right? We'd be hype about that, like, oh, we get a DLC and we get more updates in the future. But the way they said it, it sounds like it's incomplete, and that we'll play the game and be like, damn, where's the rest of it, you know? Are we back? Thank you, internet. So this time it was the internet that just like totally fell apart, which it hasn't done in a while. It really just waited for when I started streaming again. Had to. Oh, it's actually kind of going down again. So the stream might be going all over the place. Is it an underrated game? I feel like Rainworld has been pretty popularly rated. Sorry, I don't know a good way to say that, but Downpour brought a lot of attention to this game. There were a decent amount of videos that got like 1 million views or more talking about the game, and a lot of those videos, you know, convinced people to play the game. And I don't think that like every single game that, you know, has like a very dedicated fan base who like thinks the game is like a masterpiece, I don't think every single one of those games is going to become extremely popular. That's unreasonable. The reason the like very, you know, the most popular games are in that position is because they appeal to a wide audience, right? And for a game like Rainworld, I can't imagine Rainworld ever being a huge game, even if it was like a Nintendo game. If Nintendo released Rainworld, I think it would still be kind of niche, you know. And that's just how it is, right? But it has gotten a lot of attention. It's done really well as an indie game, so you can't really say that it's like I don't think it's like super underrated, and I think that a lot of people, for all the people who are aware of Rainworld and know that it's really good, there's plenty of people who know Rainworld exists, are like acknowledge and respect the game, but also don't play it, and they're not going to play it because they know that it's not for them, right? Like, oh yeah, Rainworld, that's a really cool game. I'm not gonna play it ever because it sounds horrible. But yeah, it seems I'm sure it's great. No. Wait, I have the ability. I forgot. Yeah, I can fly now. I forgot about that whole part. In Snow World right now. So real. I'm not seeing any rain. Actually, rain is pretty rare. Ideally, you don't see any rain. Right? Best case scenario, no rain at all. Oh man, that lag spike. You know what's weird? You know what's so strange about water? Water is like everywhere, right? You are mostly made of water. Every, well, actually, I'm not sure. I guess most living things are probably mostly made of water. But you're not a liquid. You're not even particularly, like, damp or, like, squishy or, like, whatever. We're pretty solid. I mean, skin is, like, dead cells, right? Or, like, not really, but, like, I guess skin is, like, supposed to be... Isn't that strange? Like, what percentage is it exactly? %60%? That's crazy. Like, and there's some things they're like chemically made of water, but like they're still like solid or like dry. And the water's just in there somehow, but it's not liquid at all. I guess that's what ice is too. Cursor, yeah, I know. Actually, I think it's off. I think if I go to OBS right now and I look at the settings, and I look at the where is the setting for the cursor? Is it in OBS? Hold on, I might have found it. Can you see the cursor now? Oh yeah, well, the in-game cursor, but... Don't see it? I think there was just a setting that I just forgot about. Cool. Now I can leave it right in the middle of the screen. It's so funny. You ever watch people play VR? And they're like looking at the floor. They're looking at like sideways all the time. It's like, what are you looking at? I can't see anything, you know? But for them, they're seeing exactly what they want to see, right? So they're like, you know, it doesn't look strange for them because they're the one looking around, right? And maybe it's a difference between like the camera that you're seeing from the video and like what they're actually seeing. But I think most of the time it's just they like tilt their head in a weird angle and they're just used to it, you know? That kind of thing is like fascinating. The way that some people like perceive things differently, especially in like a video format. Or like the way that like sometimes when you're watching a video of someone play a game and you see them miss stuff constantly, and it's like, how do you not see this? It's like the most obvious thing. It's like right there on the screen. How do you not see it? But of course, if you play the game yourself, you probably missed plenty of things yourself, right? I just didn't realize. I feel like some people, because I like to watch videos of people playing games for the first time, which usually are live streams that include a chat of people also watching the person play the game for the first time. And people sometimes get really mad at people playing the game wrong or missing things and stuff. But a lot of the time, the person who played the game still enjoys it. They still like the game, and missing things doesn't affect their experience at all. Right? It's like you're trying to get them to enjoy the game less by pointing out all the things that they missed, but they don't know what they missed. They just enjoy the game, you know? Can you just like take a screenshot of your reference and just have it open on a different window? Is that like not the same effect? And does the Blender also let you pop out things into their own like little windows? It's amazing that when I watch people play Nine Souls, I noticed all the things that they missed, or I noticed that they did things that I missed. Like, I did not interact with the talisman much in the early game because I did not understand how it worked. But looking at it now, it's like, oh, it's obvious, right? It's so obvious how the talisman works and how you get charges and all that stuff. And that's just the mechanic that I just missed. Or I guess, not really missed. Like, I saw the tutorial and I was like, oh, that's interesting, but I don't exactly understand how I get charges or how I this and that, whatever. And so I just didn't really interact with it much. By the way, every once in a while, I go into Nine Souls and I just fight the final boss. I'll do that like every few days. And it makes me so sad. I will try to avoid spoilers. But it makes me so sad that there's one like perfect boss fight in that game. And there probably won't be any more. I don't know what the chances are of like a sequel or like a hard mode. Like a hard mode that makes every boss like the final boss. That would be so great. I would play that so much. Like, man, I wish there was just like another full-sized game where every single boss fight was on the same level of the final boss. That'd be so peak. But unfortunately, they have to spend the whole game teaching you how to play, and you're probably not even good enough for the final boss when you get there, right? So you're probably gonna struggle with them and take several hours to beat them the first time. But once you get good at the game, you only have one really difficult boss to fight. Like, damn, there's so much potential. And like imagine Geometry Dash. Sorry, this is maybe a strange reference, but imagine Geometry Dash, right? Which is a game that has quite a high skill ceiling. Imagine if there was only easy demons. If the hardest levels in Geometry Dash were easy demons, and that you really enjoyed Geometry Dash, you played it a lot, and you beat all the base game levels, and you played some like community levels, but you only ever play easy demons, and you're like, damn, these are difficult, yeah, but they're not that difficult. Like, there's so much more potential with this game. It just doesn't go anywhere, right? They're missing out on all the medium demons and the hard demons and all the higher difficulty levels that have more like complex and interesting gameplay potentially. And it just doesn't exist. And obviously with community-made levels, they do exist. People have made more difficult levels and really creative levels and really annoying levels, you know, all sorts of things. And maybe that'll happen with Nine Souls. Maybe people will mod it. But also, it's the kind of game that's really hard to mod. Because making like a high-quality boss fight means making a lot of attack patterns, making a lot of animations. So many animations. And at like really high quality too, right? The animations in that game are really good for also conveying like the hitboxes and stuff. Although usually the hitboxes are very generous. It's like if there were mods, they probably wouldn't be the same quality, right? I can't think of for Hollow Knights, there are mods that make the bosses harder. But I feel like it's easier with Hollow Knights because you just take the existing stuff and you add more like projectiles, you add more you could like speed up their animations or like add more like effects, you know? It's not like add more like animations of the boss swinging their sword around, right? It's like make more sword projectiles spawn in when they do this one attack, you know? And it's much easier to spam that a whole lot to make it a really difficult fight, rather than make a bunch of intricate animations that match like the hitboxes and stuff. Right? Or like I like Terraria, you know? Terraria has a lot of mods, and a lot of those mods add really difficult boss fights, and well, in my opinion, a lot of the boss fights are worse than vanilla. But some people really like them and say that they're like way better than vanilla in terms of like the sprites and stuff. But usually they're pretty simple. There's not like crazy animations. It's like one sprite with like a looping animation, right? And most of the boss fight is just like spawning up projectiles and stuff, right? Like in Calamity, yes. Exactly, Calamity. That's probably not any faster. This is me being annoying. I really hate like endgame bosses and a lot of Terraria mods. I think, well, okay, I also don't like the endgame bosses in vanilla either. I think peak Terraria is like late pre-hard mode to like early hard mode. I really like the twins, Queen Bee, Skeletron, even like the maybe just all of pre-hard mode and then like a bit of early hard mode. Those are, I feel like the further, and like Duke Fishron is also really good, and Empress of Light, but like the further you go into Terraria, the more it becomes like bullet hell, which I think is not very good, because your movement is not very precise in Terraria. So like dodging like bullet hell type attacks aren't, I don't really enjoy that kind of gameplay when your movement is so slippery and it just kind of becomes like bullet spam. It's just like you just take damage, right? The strategy is just to be tanky, have high defense and just ignore the damage, right? Instead of having like cool attack, like Duke Fishron, all of their attacks are like very dodgeable, but it's like still difficult because it's so fast, right? Let's see if I remember the new like routes for this. Like go over here first. Is this correct? I don't know. Go here, there's a pipe here. I don't know if they're supposed to go like down into the side or like up first. Plantera is like, I don't know, kind of mixed. I don't like that you have to spend so long making an arena to make the fight like reasonable. If you have enough space, it becomes really easy just to like run circles around Plantera. Otherwise, it's just like really chaotic and like a huge mess with like the projectiles and especially the ones that bounce around. Those become really annoying in a small arena. And like the tentacle things are hard to avoid too, unless you have a ton of space, and then it becomes like basically free. But I've realized Nine Souls is probably the best game. It probably has the best combat of any like 2D like side-scrolling game. In like every other, okay, let's use Hollow Knight. I'm using Hollow Knight and Terraria as my reference for like other side scrollers that are have like a lot of boss fights. The way that you avoid damage is to dodge it, like physically. Like here's an attack, move out of the way of the attack, right? Or just run away. If you run away, they can't get you, right? That's pretty common in Terraria. Hollow Knight has more limited arenas, so you can't run away from everything. But it's like, oh, they've done it. They do an attack, dash away from it, and then dash towards them to deal damage, and then jump over this attack, right? But Nine Souls, just being able to parry means that bosses can go crazy. They can attack you, and they don't need to be dodgeable. You just need to parry them, right? And then for every attack that you can't parry, there's some other way to avoid it. I don't know, it's so good. And now I'm forever going to be disappointed by every single other game with the combat system like that. Maybe I need to play Dark Souls. I don't know. Because Dark Souls is similar. And instead of parrying, you have dodge rolls. It's not like physically avoid the attack, it's do a time a dodge roll to iframe through it, right? But it's like much slower pace. I'm not sure. And there's stamina. I think stamina, it sounds kind of annoying. Start with Sekiro. I'm aware I would probably enjoy Sekiro. It is the inspiration for Nine Souls after all. Or one of them. At least. Oops, totally messed that up. I'm so bad. Ugh. This room is awful. I hate this room. This room makes me want to take the right side routes. And also, like, Nine Souls doesn't have contact damage. Isn't that great? It means that every attack from the enemies is like a deliberate action. And not just like they walk towards you and get like, ah. Some bosses in Hollow Knight, because there is contact damage in that game, they're so annoying. The way they like move forward slightly in their animation and you take damage because of it. I hate that. Contact damage always sucks unless like an enemy is literally covered in spikes. Hello, goodbye. Yeah, like almost a fitting song. Actually, the song that plays here, I don't think it's on the playlist. Actually, I'm pretty confident it's not on the playlist. But I don't think I'll add it. Oh, you know what I should have done? You know what I should have done? Shoot. Actually, whatever. Who cares? I'll do another run. This I don't know how familiar you guys are with Dark Souls games. Is there a boss that's like so good that you wish there were more bosses like it? Or do like all the bosses generally, like is like the whole game, or like all the Souls games generally like equal in terms of quality? Because I like the bosses in Nine Souls, but definitely some of the early ones they feel slower. They feel like there's less going on. Oh right, this glitch doesn't work. Hold on. Because I'd say that there's 2 bosses in Nine Souls that are like, this is really good. And then there's like 3 more that are like, this is a good boss. And then the rest of them are like, alright, you know. Probably be better when you first fight them, right? What was I trying to do there? Did I set it correctly? Yes, okay, so I'll show it right here. It only works or it doesn't work on low quality, which is what I've been using because it helps with lag. Because there's 3 Dark Souls games, plus like Elden Ring, plus some other similar games, right? So if you like those kinds of bosses, there's a lot of game to play, right? Plus like DLC too, right? So as Saint, you can escape the shelter and get to this room, so that I wake up in this room, which gets me closer to where I want to go. It's interesting though. Would Nine Souls be worse if they kept making more games? Because it is a contained story, right? Sometimes games lose, or like not just games, like some media, they lose a lot by being extended too far. It's like they just keep making more and more and more, and it's lost its charm. Like, who cares? You know, there's enough of this thing in the world already. Like okay, let's talk about Rain World. As I'm playing Rain World, Rain World is very good, especially base game. And some people would argue that Downpour did not do a very good job at continuing that. Would it be better if Rain World had just released vanilla and that was it? That was all the Rain World that there would ever be. Probably not for a lot of people who enjoy Downpour and who will probably enjoy the Watcher too. Like, hey, more content, more game to play, right? But also that content is potentially of a low quality, and that actually reflects the messages and the themes of the original game. And saying like, hey, Downpour maybe has made the whole, like Rain World as a whole, maybe it's made it worse. Maybe it has made some changes to the canon that are like the opposite of what it should have been. It's probably good that there's more Rain World content. The people who, you know, didn't know about Rain World at all, maybe found out about it from Downpour and they're like, hey, this is pretty cool. maybe people found Rain World from Downpour and then proceeded to go play the base game and enjoy it more than Downpour. Even though they found it from Downpour in the first place. Some cleaner separations to do. Downpour could have released as a mod, where Vanilla would just stay its thing. Downpour would release and be like, hey, look at all this cool modded content. You'd probably lose remix a lot of quality of life stuff in there, but also maybe the quality of life stuff makes the game worse, especially like the in-game hints. Some people really don't like those. Its knowledge is like is the game. Getting better, learning more about the world that is the game, and the game just like showing up and being like, hey, here's how you do this, here's how you do this, here's like taking away a learning experience from the player by giving it to them directly. Or like Star Wars. I don't think I've ever talked about Star Wars on this channel. Some people say that the original movies, the first three, I'm sorry, I'm not too familiar with Star Wars. The first three movies were like the best part, and everything afterwards has just been a downgrade. Especially some of the more recent stuff, right? But I guess like the original always still exists, right? You can always go back and be like, hey, these were the good ones. All the other stuff was a miss, but you know. It's hard to say that like additional content can make the originals worse. Even if it does like, you know, retroactively change some things about the original, you can just kind of ignore it and be like, you know, we all agree that this is worse. Just go and enjoy the original on its own in isolation. I guess that really... Also, yeah, welcome to the stream. It really shouldn't surprise me how many people are in the community from Downpour. Or because of Downpour, right? I played Downpour, or I played Rain World the same year that it released. But I definitely gained interest in the game again because of Downpour. That's a lot of yeeks. But also, it was less like... Not really. It was more like... The announcement of Downpour just reminded me that the game existed. So I went back and I played the base game again and I really enjoyed it. I was like, wow, this is really good. I didn't appreciate it enough in the first place. You know? And then Downpour came out and I was like, oh, this is really cool. But I still really like Vanilla. But I never would have had, or I don't know, maybe I would have come back to Rain World eventually, even without Downpour. I'd be like, oh yeah, this game exists. It's actually really good. It's also funny that for speedrunning specifically, it's probably actually been more activity speedrunning Vanilla over Downpour. And after all this time that Downpour's been released, people have just gone back to Vanilla and be like, yeah, these speedruns are better. Like Monk Palace Percent is like the best category. Ooh. There's been a lot of innovation, new time saves and skips and stuff discovered for like any percent. Like you can use a trick to get a Slug Pup to spawn consistently, and you use them to skip the Guardians. Ooh, that was good. That's the new like meta for any percent speedruns. I'm gonna try. Not a big jump from that. Maybe you can jump from that little bit that sticks out. You can jump to the ceiling and swing off of that. Yeah, I've struggled with performance in this game. Pretty consistently there have been pretty annoying lag spikes. It really isn't. It's an annoying comparison to make. We've definitely talked about it like 10 times on this channel. You can never recreate the experience of playing Rainbow for the first time, and that is the whole point of the game. The step against the unknown, not knowing anything, trying to survive in alien environments, and eventually figuring things out, and learning how to survive, learning how to deal with creatures, and exploring and discovering all the crazy things that are in this world, right? That is base game Rain World, and it's a crazy experience. And you can't recreate that with a DLC. Especially since it uses the same map, right? We've already explored this area, and yeah, there's new places, but by the time you get there, you're like very much prepared for... You're very much used to the game at that point, right? And I don't know how much they add like completely new stuff, because the iterators and like Five Pebbles is completely unique when you play a Rainbow for the first time. It's like such a contrast from the rest of the game, of being in these abandoned these ruins that are overtaken by nature and the creatures and such. That's what you're used to for most of the game, and then you get to Pebbles and it's like this like sci-fi like anti-gravity like supercomputer, right? But once you go to that area once, you're like, all right, that's cool, but I really don't want to go back there. You know? But Downpour makes you go back there several times and also do it again in a different iterator. That's kind of the same exact thing, you know? Like, oh, cool, it's Moon back in her like fully functional state, but it's another iterator that's low gravity and kind of annoying to navigate. You know, Metropolis seems like it's gonna be cool, but then you end up it's just an arena for fighting scavengers for a few hours, you know? There's not really any significant lore discoveries there. It's just like, oh, it's a city, and we're in the city, oh, it looks like a city. The scavengers here, and they want to kill you. Kind of feels like Metropolis should be like the most lore dense region, because it's the closest that we can get to the ancients and how they actually lived post iterators, right? 5 to 10% less big? Yeah, maybe. I think it's because they needed to make every region feel significant. They can't just add like an industrial, right? Industrial is very small, but it's a connection to other regions, right? Maybe they should have added more of those. But like every region is its own destination, right? You don't go to industrial to be an industrial, you go to industrial to get somewhere else, right? But for Metropolis, you go to Metropolis to end the game as Artificer, right? So that it is the final destination. It is, you know, it has to be like a complete area on its own, right? Same with Outer Expanse, same with Submerge, right? They didn't add any like small little, oh, here's like a little like a industrial or a shaded or garbage. Like those are all just like intermediary. That's totally the wrong word. In between areas, you know? You go there to get somewhere else, right? Or like drainage system, right? Except Sphere Master. Eating while falling asleep. Yeah, looks to the moon is absolutely massive because there's an entire the iterator parts and the exterior parts are both combined together. And exterior is already a very big region because it's like very stretched out across a huge space, right? And identically looking cave hallways. Well, so does like Shoreline, right? Yeah, they probably could have been smaller. Outer Expanse is absolutely massive too, but it's supposed to be like one very long journey to the end. Maybe it could have been more linear, like less branching paths, more just like one straight journey to the end, right? Because that's kind of the purpose of Outer Expanse. It could have had like a top route, a bottom route, little like Easter egg area, and then the ending, Journey's End, right? That's all it should have been, but there's like, it's much more of a maze. Let's like, interconnect and it backtracks on itself, and then you can get stuck there for a long time, even though your only reason to be there is to just get to the end, right? And you're playing as Gourmand, so it's basically like 10% or like 20% bigger just because of that, right? Just how long it takes to navigate. Yeah, they should be separate regions. Probably. They're both. They're very large and they're one massive region for some reason. I want to talk about this thing that I'm trying to do, which is completely unrelated to what you guys are currently talking about. But also, I don't want to talk too much about how like Downpour is bad. I don't really like being too negative about it. It's cool that Downpour exists, and I've been playing it for like the past 2 years, so you know I've gotten a lot out of it, and I guess I kind of owe this channel to Downpour, right? I don't think I mean, I guess like I'm still streaming because of Downpour, right? And I have this audience because of it too. But anyway, I'm trying to do some game dev, which I've mostly been unsuccessful every time I try. I'm trying to do this thing to get like a higher frame rate to work. Which is something that confuses me so much. How to like get like high frame rates to work, because in a lot of games, right, they can just go up to like whatever frame rate you want them to. I think it's the game engine that I use that isn't particularly suited for it. It's kind of hard to separate like physics calculations and like graphical updates. Because what you want to do is say like every 30 or like 30 times a frame, or no, 30 times a second or like 60 times a second, should update like the physics of the game, like the movement of things, collisions and such like that. And then whatever the refresh rate is, like 144 times a second, you want to update the visuals, like where things are on the screen so that they move smoothly, right? I don't think GameMaker likes doing that. Because I guess you would try to separate the step rates, because each object has a built-in step event that happens every frame. But if you increase the frame rates to increase like the visual frame rates, right, then it also does the step event more often, right? So I guess you would just want to have like the visual updates on the actual frame rates, and then you would have some other events that runs on a different timer to determine the actual like physics of this. But that's complicated. I'm trying to do a system where everything just does run at the frame rate. So if I'm at 144 FPS, then everything just runs at that frame rate, right? And you just like take speeds and divide them by the frame rate, right? So things don't move faster at a higher frame rate. And then have like an enemy. The only thing, like if you have an enemy object, the only thing that really needs to be updating every frame is its like collision and like movements, right? It's actual like logic, and it's AI, it's bullet patterns. That only needs to run like a few times every second, right? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. That given an arbitrary frame rate, how do you make something run consistently? Because if I'm using like 60 FPS, if I only ran everything at 60 FPS, then it's pretty easy to time everything accurately, right? You just have some frame delay between each action. Like, let's say I have a bullet pattern, right? It's like shoots like these bullets and then waits 5 frames, and then shoot these bullets and then wait these frames, you know. But if I moved from like 60 FPS to like 75 FPS, probably those timings would be slightly off. They'd just be a little bit inaccurate. You can't just wait that exact number of frames because you're scaling everything by like 1.25 or something like that. What is the actual? Yeah, 1.25. And there's kind of a way that I get around it where it's like, you just need to change, like, I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it. I'm trying to figure out how to get that system to work, so that maybe I can have a good frame rate. But also, I feel like that it would mean that if you try to run it at a high frame rate, it would lag the game more, because it wouldn't just adjust the frame rates to match whatever your like the whatever it's able to perform, right? Because usually a frame rate is dynamic, where if you're in an area that lags a lot, it just goes to a lower frame rate, right? But the game still runs as it should. But it might cause problems where if it can't reach the desired frame rate, it just slows down. Like the actual game, like everything actually runs slower. The problem that I found trying to use a real timer, because there is a timer system in GameMaker. You can like have actions happen every like however many like milliseconds or fractions of a second or whatever you want to set it to. The problem, let's say I had an enemy that shoots like 10 bullets every 10th of a second. What would happen is the enemy would shoot a lot of bullets, but if there were too many bullets on screen at once, then the game would run slower, but it would still try to shoot 10 bullets every 10th of a second, right? So let's say the game really slowed down and it took a whole second for a single frame to pass, or it took like a 10th of a second for a frame to pass, then it would shoot every frame. And now that it's shooting more often, it's lagging more, and it's like it's a feedback loop, right? Where the more that it shoots, the more it slows down, but then it makes it shoot more, and it slows down the game even more, right? So I didn't want to use that kind of timer, even though like ideally the game doesn't lag at all, of course. But I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe the player creates some crazy build that shoots 1 trillion bullets, and it just makes the game lag. You can't really avoid that, especially in a game with a lot of upgrades. You kind of expect that kind of stuff to happen, right? I think the solution is just to use decimals when using timers. So if you have like a very basic like timer, like t variable, let's say like t goes down by 1 every frame, and if it's 0 or lower, then something happens, and then it increases like the cooldown to like, it increases t to like 60. That makes something happen every second. You just make it so that t changes by like some fraction based on the frame rates, or it gets set to some fractional value, so it can work on like non-integer values for like specific. If you want something to happen every like after some very specific interval that isn't on a integer, then that would work. I'm probably not describing this very well. What I'm trying to do, by the way, so there's a game that I've been trying to make for several years, probably like 5 years at this point. Trying to make as in the game does not exist, it's not playable. It is not even like close to a playable state at all. Most of the development has just been coming up with ideas for what will eventually be in the game, maybe at some time in the future. Maybe like 20 years, I don't know. What I'm trying to do now as a compromise is kind of turn the game into a Vampire Survivors like, where I just forget about the levels and the progression and all the like the story stuff. Forget about that. Just put the player in an arena with enemies and give you upgrades over time to make the enemies stronger over time. Which is a really easy game to make. Like if you don't know Vampire Survivors, the original version of Vampire Survivors was like the most simple game ever. It would be so easy to recreate that game. Spawn in enemies, make them move towards you, give the player weapons that you can upgrade, and then let you upgrade the stats that affect the weapons, and that's it. That's the whole game. Like, there's so little to it. Of course, Vampire Survivors is incredibly complicated now. There's a stupid amount of content in that game. You know, it's a very easy format to copy. So I'm trying to do that, basically just to like prototype the like upgrade system in my game. So that theoretically, if I were to add like all the upgrades, all the items, all the enemies, then the only thing left to create would be the levels, right? To just put the enemies and stuff in. But still could take forever. Why did I do this? Yeah, Vampire Survivors was like Magic Survival or something like that. That was the inspiration, I think. And gambling. I think I'm supposed to eat that fruit later, actually. I have no idea how multi-threading works. I imagine it would probably be useful for a game with a lot of enemy spam, but also for a lot of like bullet spam, like in a bullet hell. I'm not saying gambling in the game, I'm saying gambling as in the developer worked on like slot machines or something like that, and that was like inspiration for making the treasure chest that you pick up, that have all like fancy effects. That's the gambling influence. Even though it's not really gambling, but it's just kind of like just a random item that with like we'll just throw a billion effects on it to make it look fancy. Yeah, I don't even know if that's something that Game Maker supports. Actual CS knowledge? Damn. That's too bad then. I guess I care less about how it actually works and more of like how do you implement it when developing the game and where would it actually be useful. I guess in a bullet hell, you have a lot of bullets, a lot of objects on the screen, potentially like hundreds, right? And each bullet needs to calculate its next position and its collision with the environments. Although I've tried something where instead of calculating collision with the environments every frame, when the bullet is created, it calculates its trajectory and it does a raycast. If that raycast hits a wall, then that just sets a timer for when the bullet needs to be destroyed, so that it gets destroyed right when it hits the wall, right? So it only does one raycast instead of a bunch of collision checks every single frame. And of course, that doesn't work if you have a more complicated bullet trajectory, like one that like just like has a wavy pattern or like a homing bullet. Obviously, those still need normal collisions. I guess that's a pretty simple calculation. Just the bullet moves forward every frame. and it has collision with the player. I made this should I show this on stream? It's so simple. It's not even that interesting. I probably just describe it. I made a little system, like a bacteria simulator, but that's kind of an insult to bacteria. These little cells that exist, they can collide with each other, and if they're on food, then they duplicate. They what's the word for that? I forget. They create more bacteria if they're on food, and if they're not on food, then they move around freely. And it lagged so quickly. After just a few generations, a few doublings, mitosis, yeah. After a few doublings, there were so many bacteria that it would lag the game horribly. Even though there really weren't all that many, maybe like a few hundred, but each one needed to do collision checks with every single other bacteria as well as the environments. So it's like a squared. You know the thing. Every single bacteria needs to do a collision check with every single other one, so it scales with the square of how many there are, which is really bad. But there's ways to mitigate that, by separating the whole map into a grid, and only doing collision checks within bacteria that are on adjacent grid cells. But I don't know how to do that, so I didn't. And it was just a little experiment anyway. But bullets have no collision with each other. Only the environments. That's pretty clean. Sky Islands Gaming. This is definitely Sky Islands, yep. We're really high up. Actually, we're not very high up. We're probably lower than Chimney, right? Well, we're maybe around the same level as Chimney, right? Because I don't know. I guess I don't really. Because Pebbles Creek Lab is. Yeah, since we're at the top of the structure now, after collapse, we're probably at the same level as Chimney. So when Pebbles collapsed, they fell roughly one height of an iterator can. Well, collisions, because it's with the tile set. But basically, there's a tile map where each cell is either, well, it could be any number based on the tile index, right? But if it's a 0, it can't be collided with. And if it's anything greater than a 0, it can be collided with. So the collision check is only check the current cell. Is it not a 0? And if it is, then that's a collision, right? That's a pretty simple calculation, I think. I think the main problem is actually just the game maker has a lot of extra stuff bundled in with objects. So just an object existing causes the game to lag. If you spawn in 10,000 objects that just do nothing, the game will lag. Just because there's other stuff going on that I don't completely understand. even if the object literally is doing a single collision check and then moving forward at some speed, that still causes the game to lag eventually. Although I'm probably not going to spawn in tens of thousands of bullets, maybe just a few hundred. But, you know, you're also adding in stuff like particle effects. Although I think the particle system is actually pretty good in Game Maker, so I kind of use those a lot. Documenting my development process, it would be so boring because I don't know what I'm doing. You know those devlogs of people who are insane, and they're like, "We're going to be recreating Minecraft today. First, we need to like create a cube." the first thing that they do is like make a cube and like make a 3D rendering system, which of course means like spending like several minutes doing a bunch of code that just draws a window. Like, okay. I appreciate the existence of game engines to automate all of that stuff, so I don't need to think about it. Ooh, that was pretty good movements. Oops, wrong direction. Go back, go back. I forgot about Moon. The reason I created that little bacteria simulation thing is because I thought it'd be an interesting idea for tower defense. I mean, it's the same thing that I've been doing for a very long time of trying to create some sort of like cellular automata or like organic thing that spreads and grows on its own that you need to defend from. That's been an idea I've had for a game for a long time. So, bacteria, that's an idea, right? They can grow and duplicate on their own. But yeah, so simulating, like, I would need to be a better programmer to get that to work. I wonder if that's the kind of thing where the GPU can actually handle that. Although I'm not entirely sure like what you can do with that, because it's a bit more limited. You need to like code in a different way that I mean, I already don't know how to code normally, so coding for like GPU stuff, way out there. There's actually this game called let me get this right. Particle Fleet. Yes. That's what it's called. That's a game where you fight against a bunch of particles. Same dev as the Creeper World games, which is kind of a big inspiration for the idea that I have. Hi, Moon. Can I actually show it? Hold on, I'm gonna open it up real quick. It's very underwhelming. It's gonna take a while to open up. It's funny, games exist that aren't programmed very well, like Undertale. If people can do it. People may look at your game code in like 10 years and be like, wow, this is awful. This is such a mess. But hey, if the game exists and people can play it, that's a success, you know. I just keep coming up with ideas that are like impossible to make for me. It's funny, you can kind of tell in some games like what background the developer has. Like sometimes it's like an artist. It's obvious that an artist made this game because the art looks nice, obviously. But it's like it's well animated. It has like all these different like sprites and whatever illustrations for the characters and stuff. But then the actual gameplay is like really simple. Like, oh yeah, this is an artist game for sure. Well, there's games like Factorio or like Cogman. It's like, oh, you know exactly the kind of person that made this game. Rain World, yeah. Batfly. Or like UFO 50. Because I was looking at the code of that game a while back and I was making a mod for it. And it's so simple. It's so like, I mean, obviously because there's such simple games, right? But I guess if you're making a game that simple, you're relying a lot on your like your level design, your game mechanics, because that's all it is, right? The whole game is just the gameplay. I've done very little of that. Like I've never made a game with simple mechanics where most of the development time is like making levels. So my level design experience is like zero. I kind of want to make a platformer someday. Just like make a very simple movement system and then just make the rest of the game and spend most of my time just making levels. I think it's actually Pico 8 where a bunch of the like Celeste type games were made in, because Celeste was like there's like an old version of Celeste that was made on that, as well as the Celeste 2. The sequel of Celeste was made on Pico 8. I think that's it, right? That's a pretty fun game. Celeste 2. It's so simple. Like here's the movement mechanic. Here's a bunch of levels. Have fun, you know. Can I show this on stream? Oh, they just did it. I think the delay is really high. It takes like 10 seconds. Oh, there they go. They're moving. So they kind of bounce around everywhere. Maybe this one down here. Yep. So that one on the bottom right. So it found another patch of food. So it's going to start replicating itself. And presumably you would be like over here just chilling, doing your thing, right? And then occasionally these guys would come in and start messing with you, right? And I had ideas for things that they could do. Like I thought like of a mechanic where the more of them that are like packed together in one area, the more defense they have. So this would be much harder to defeat than just these ones that are floating around. The game is already starting to lag, by the way. And maybe they could like set up like little colonies. Like let's say if you're right here, they would set up a colony like right here, where they would send out like dedicated attackers that are much more like offensively dangerous. It's lagging a lot now. But I guess collisions between them aren't really important. I actually don't know if I disabled collisions for the ones that are floating around, or if they're just moving past each other so quickly that they don't have time to like bounce off each other. Because obviously I want collisions in these areas, or else like an infinite amount of them stack up and it starts to lag like crazy. But like, even if collisions for these are disabled, these are still checking for collisions with these guys over here, right? That is a big part of the lag. That's all this is. I think that oh, the resolution got all messed up. Thank you, Rainworld. I think GameMaker has some sort of built-in system for its collisions that is supposed to be more optimized. Actually, hold on. Let me look at the. Oh, I already closed it. Never mind. I might have actually programmed it in a way that's like really inefficient. Oh, actually, I don't think so. Well, obviously it still is inefficient, but it's not as bad as it could have been. What probably the way it should work probably is each of the patches of food creates a list of all of the bacteria that are on it, and then it does the collision calculations for the bacteria. So that it's only doing calculations for the ones that are like relevant, the ones that need to collide with each other. But of course, if like anywhere else in the world, if they were supposed to collide with each other, then that system wouldn't work. I need to like create new collisions for like each like patch bacteria that shows up. I don't know. Yeah, that kind of collision system, that is what you would want for that. I grab onto the pole there. Whew. That was close. New tech. It's actually been kind of nothing. I don't think I'm doing anything new right now. I'm kind of just getting used to playing Saint again. It's been a while. There was some potential. There's one thing that I've been trying out where it's like holding down when you're swinging might make you move faster, but it kind of felt like it didn't really do anything. So I'm not entirely convinced by that. Most of it was free yeeks. That pressing jump right when you hit the floor with a yeek should be more consistent to get the roll pounce. Because if you mess up your jumps with a yeek, you just die to the worm grass really quickly. So finding a way to control them more consistently is pretty important. And in Rubicon, there's a slightly different route that I took in one room. I think it's more efficient than what I used to do. But I probably missed out on a lot of stuff that they're doing. There's a few runners that I've been doing Saints recently that I've not been keeping up on. Because if you don't know, I used to hold the world record for Saint story percent and for 80%. I no longer have those records, but also I'm aware that there's a lot of room for improvement in these records, so I could get the times back potentially. Another potential idea is just to generate a sequence of like dots on each like patch of food, and then just gently nudge the bacteria so that they are on like the nearest dot. So basically, instead of calculating collisions between the bacteria, you just determine evenly spaced like you just like determine what like even spacing would be for them, right? And don't even bother with collision checks at all. They would simply detect for collisions with the environment, but if they're on a patch of food, they're definitely not going to be next to the environments at all, right? Oh shoot, I shouldn't have disabled ability, whatever. But I know that there's like, I've seen like simulations of like thousands of objects that are colliding with each other. That's very much a thing. That's possible. So there's probably, I mean, that game already exists, the particle fleet that I mentioned earlier, where you're fighting against these little like bacteria that like spread and like do all sorts of little actions. How much time we got left? I could do another run. Also did this run, by the way. 53. How good is this run? It's faster than world record by 2 minutes. And remember that I went the wrong direction when I went to Moon. So, you know, sub 53 is very possible. But I knew this for a long time. I knew that like a 52 was probably possible, maybe even sub 50 if you're like crazy. But you know, this is also without creatures, so adding in all the like horrible creature spawns that could show up, especially in like Subterranean or Rubicon. Maybe I'll do it in any percent run, so I skip out on spending the iterators. It's like a little bit faster. And I also remember that I need to, actually I'm not gonna do the glitch. Skip it. Oh, and also another like minor optimization was like, in farm raise, when you're waiting for the yeeks to show up, to stay in the shelter for a little bit to let the yeeks move when they're abstracted, because they move faster. They could potentially like get out of the room. So otherwise they get stuck in the tunnels and it takes a while to get them. Oh, I should probably increase the volume of the music, because I decreased it when it was bioengineering. Hopefully the volume has been good. I haven't really checked on that. I should hold on to that rock. And I mean, the little like bacteria simulation thing, that was just something I made for fun. I don't think I want to try to make that into a game. The other one that I'm making, I think the biggest difficulty for me, well, okay, it's like pretty much everything is difficult for me. Specifically, a system for like upgrades. Still, I could probably do it, but I don't know how to do it very well. That is always the problem. But I guess those kind of calculations are not that bad. Just adding up a bunch of numbers. Like your damage value is like depends on the base damage of your weapon and the damage of your like or the damage buffs from your upgrades and from any like stat effects you might have. But just like add up all the numbers and you just have your damage value. These calculations aren't really that bad. I think I've done like one correct AI jump this whole stream. Use the proper language. Eat ghosts. Not the fast route. I don't know why I took that route to that room. Okay, this was another like little puzzle that I was very confused by. Let's say an idea that I've had for an item in this game would be for every time you kill an enemy, you get a slight damage buff that fades away after some time. So if you kill a lot of enemies quickly, you get a damage buff, and then it goes away if you don't, right? Pretty simple idea. I realized that I don't know how to make that item. How to actually code it. A bloodlust, yeah. That sort of effect. It's pretty simple. I imagine there'd be some sort of variables that keep track of like how many enemies you've killed. Right, I guess it would have a variable for the current boost. Whenever an enemy dies, that boost increases. And also resets the timer, and then if the timer resets, then the value goes down. That's pretty simple. The part that I don't know is like, how does that item know when an enemy dies? Cause I guess what I could do is that whenever an enemy dies, in its code, it says, if the player has this item, then set that variable, but like, that seems like completely unnecessary. For every enemy to do that check, even if you don't have the item. I guess like the question is not about this particular item, but like, how do you make it so that something only happens when you have an item equipped, right? Because each item is going to have, you know, all sorts of different effects that are, you know, apply in some specific scenario, right? And I don't want to make the code in the game always try to account for every single possible item that you could have. All that unnecessary code that's running all the time, right? Ideally, it's like, once you pick up this item, new code starts happening, which should be like what the item is doing. That should apply even to like other enemies or objects or like stuff that is not just in that object. So if the item is like shoot out a bullet every like 10 seconds, that's really easy to make because all that could be handled by the item itself. It just needs to like have its own cooldown and like it shoots out a bullet, like whatever. That's simple. But, like, what if I wanted to make an item that's like makes your bullets like split? This is the item in some games. I can make a weapon do that, so that it shoots out bullets, and then the bullets have like a spitting effect, right? But how do I make that apply only when you have the item equipped? Do I need to make a variance of every single bullet that has a splitting effect? Or do I just say like, if a bullet expires, then create new bullets that are based on the stats of the original bullet? But how does that item know when a bullet expires or hits an enemy or hits a wall or whatever? This kind of stuff is what I'm not good at. So basically, whenever an enemy dies, you just have a system so that it notifies the player and says, enemy death events or whatever. And the player's like, all right, an enemy has died. And if items don't do anything about that, then nothing happens. But I guess if one item has like a enemy killed trigger or whatever, then something happens because it triggers all of your items regardless. But then every single time anything happens ever, that's like has to be some sort of event for like that one random item that has that synergy. Ooh. I'm doing this wrong. There's something that surprised me. In Terraria's code, in the code for your health regeneration, the code is like health, like whatever the variable is for like updating your health every frame. It's like plus 0.5 plus this timer variable for like the natural regen, plus if you have crimson armor, add this value, plus if you have like shiny stone, add this number. Like it's like in the variable or in the line of code that determines how much health you regen every frame, it checks for if you have all these items equipped that give you health regen. So I guess when they're developing the game, whenever they added an item that gives you health regen, they just need to go to the health regen code and add an if you have this item, add health regen. Like what? That's how it works? That seems absurd. I guess it works, right? If you're modding the game and you add an item that gives health regen, do you need to go and change that line of code yourself? If you have this modded item, also add health regen? Go down, go down! Goodness. The damage calculation formula. I'm gonna look it up right now. It's a mess. It's a complete mess. Oh, you doing good, dude? Yeah, just hanging out. I guess the way that I'd want to do it, if I have a skill tree, what I would do is whenever you change, you'd have a function that updates your stats. And it loops through all of the upgrades that you have, and it adds together everything that it sees. Like, oh, here's a damage bonus, +1 to the damage bonus, plus this to the fire bonus, and whatever. And then you would have a list of variables of all your stats that would apply to whenever you shoot, right? I guess whatever items are like status effects to, it also loop through those. How did you send that? By pressing the key on your keyboard and pressing enter, I think. That's usually how it works, right? Phone in your pocket. And also I wonder, like, if I have an upgrade, if I want to add an upgrade to the game, what is like the data or the format or shoot language? How do you store the information for what stats it affects? Because I've thought of like a few ways to do it. You could give it in like strings. Maybe it has a list. And each element of the list is like damage type is, or like stat type is damage, modifier is like +1 or something like that. And then when you're, tallying up the stats, it's like, if the damage type is 1, or if the stat type is damage, then change this variable, If the type is this, then change that, Or like another way that I did it is just have an array where the index of the array is the stat. So like 0 is damage, 1 is fire rates, 2 is range, whatever. And so each upgrade is just an array of just values, and it's like 1 0 0 0 0 or like whatever. Well, that's like a little harder to read. I feel like that's like way simpler. That's one thing that I've learned, that structs are like very good in storing like information. And also using strings more often, probably, because they're actually readable. Or using like what's it like called, like macros or something like that, where you can use like in the when you're coding it, you can like set certain like word to it, a specific value. So when you're coding, you just use that word instead of trying to memorize all the numbers. Should recite a structure to hold this information. I sure wish I actually knew what I was talking about. Whenever. At any time. The only thing that I have any confidence about is like Rain World. Which is like... I still don't know much. If you are speedrunning Rain World, specifically like a handful of categories, I got you. I have the information. Actually, shoot, can I show this on stream? Up. This is such a jank way to do it. But this is Nova Drift. And it does this cool thing. In the pause screen, it shows you... The cursor's on there. That's from the screenshot. Look at all this information, right? It keeps track of so many values. Like damage, projectiles, rate of fire, projectile velocity, blast radius modifier, size modifier, spread, projectile targeting, cannons, firing mode. Like so many variables that it keeps track of. This is very useful. I guess you just want as many variables as there are ways that your items can change. Yeah. Obviously, like also for like really niche items that like do something very specific, if there's a way to modify that. No. Oh. Imagine if I was able to like slingshot all the way back up. If I timed that right, maybe. Hit this room. That room's great. Has no camera issues at all. It's very easy to navigate. There's another thing that I've been using that I'm not 100% sure is like a good idea, or maybe it's a game maker specific thing, where storing, basically I store functions as variables in an item or in an object that can change. So let's say I have a bullets object, and it has a update function, and when a bullet is fired, that function can change depending on the type of the bullet. So let's say like there's a normal bullet that moves in a straight line, there's like a wavy bullet, or just a homing bullet, and so that updates function would be changed to whatever it is. So if you want to fire the wavy bullet, you just change the update function to the the code that makes it wavy, and then the bullet just needs to run that function. Should I just be using that like all the time? It seems very useful for like because then I only need like one bullet object. That bullet object's function can change to basically whatever, really. And it's still a bullet for the purposes of like colliding with stuff, because the player object only needs to check for collision with the bullet's object. But that bullet object could be whatever. Very bad when done bad? Okay, so it's probably gonna be bad. What was that? Why'd I get stuck up there? I guess this really depends on the project itself. I often wonder, like, how often should I just make a new object? Or should I try to make one object that is capable of doing everything? Like for the bullets example, right? I could make one bullet object and make a bunch of different, like, update functions based on what I want the bullet to be. Or I could make just different bullets. Here's a normal bullet, here's a wavy bullet, here's a homing bullet, right? All the code is separate. Each bullet just does its own thing. If it does nothing, it just does nothing, you know? Or for like enemies are a lot more complicated because they have different AI. Like, sure, every enemy has a lot of things in common. They have health. They can be hit by bullets. They whatever. They collide with walls. What about the enemies that don't collide with walls? I don't know. This is any percent. Right, I'm doing any percent, so I should keep echoes and then ignore them iterators. But like one enemy might like have AI where like they just charge at you and they try to like hit you with collision damage. One of them like may like stay back and try to fire at you with from a distance. Is there a way to maybe package the AI in some sort of data structure such that I could just create one template enemy and then just give it an AI? Like here's the AI. It's like just some file of like, you know, what attack patterns it has, what movement patterns it has, and such. Right, so in exploding bullets, a normal bullet does nothing when it expires, right? So it hits a wall and it just disappears and that's it. Maybe there's a particle effect. But an exploding bullet, like when it hits a wall, it needs to create an explosion. So when it gets destroyed, it has some sort of code that it runs. But if it's a normal bullet, it doesn't need that code, right? It doesn't say, hey, when you get destroyed, do nothing. Thank you. Thanks for that. But does it need variables for like the explosion size? What if it's a bullet that creates other bullets when it's destroyed, right? That's pretty common in bullet hells. So we need to know what kind of bullets it is that it fires out. Those are variables that it should probably be stored. Please. Thank you. I also, this is a, I want to make a system that's like an editing, like a bullet pattern editing, or a bullet pattern editor. That'd work like a editing software. It can be like, place like these bullets here, like after this delay, shoot these bullets. I feel like who knows how you're supposed to store the data for a bullet pattern? Probably something I can figure out on my own. Another thing that is a question that I wondered to myself that is doesn't necessarily have an answer is should I have like a list, just a huge list of every bullet in the game? and each bullet has its own like sprites and its own movement patterns, and, like lifetime, range, speed, whatever. All the variables that are relevant to this bullet. And then whenever an enemy fires, it just says shoot bullets ID 50. Shoot bullet ID like 200, whatever. Or each enemy stores the values for its own bullets that it fires. Or like maybe that's part of the bullet pattern data. So and like while I'm creating a bullet pattern, I just set the variables of the bullets for each one that's fired, which would give me a lot more options for customization. If I really want it to fire a bullet that's like exactly like this one, but it moves slightly slower, I can just make that right there. Then that's like a lot more information that's being stored in each bullet pattern of like data for every single individual bullets. I guess it could be like find all the unique bullet types in this bullet pattern and store them individually, and then say shoot bullet 1, shoot bullet 2, right? Maybe each enemy would store all the bullets that it can fire, and then in this bullet pattern it just says like fire bullet 1 or 2 or whatever. From a list. I heard that there's a thing in Undertale where like all of the dialogue is in this massive like list, or is it I'm not sure what exactly it is, but it's like whenever there's a dialogue, it's just like for this scene have dialogue like 250, and it goes down the list, it finds the 250th one, and it's like, all right, show this dialogue. Is that not a problem? Because you're basically putting the entire game's dialogue into one like massive list. I guess that list always needs to be loaded for whenever it's needed. Like, let's say for enemies in the game, let's say I managed to find a way to condense an enemy's data into a list. Like spawn, for this enemy, it has this sprite, it has this much health and this much speed, and here's its AI, and here's its bullet pattern, and whenever you spawn an enemy, like spawn enemy ID 50 or whatever, I would just have this list of just like 100 enemies in it. Oh man. I know Terraria does this thing where there's kind of just like this list of like enemy behavior, and you know, a lot of enemies share the same AI. Like there's like this fighter AI that like half the enemies in the game have, like zombies and skeletons and all those like generic enemies that like walk towards you when they like jump over terrain and such. So they made this like one AI, and they gave it to like 50 enemies. If they wanted to make an enemy with a completely unique behavior, that's just create a new AI on the list, right? Even if it is just for that one enemy. But if you're making an enemy that's like, and there's also like stats, like they still have like different speeds and like knockback resistance and whatever. So it's the same AI, but it's like slightly different. Like they can move faster, or they can, you know, be better at jumping or whatever. But I guess like how often? Well, I guess like they're kind of mixed together, like an enemy's bullet patterns and their movement behavior. I could have them be entirely separate, where their movements and attack patterns are completely different things. But I don't think I want that. I think I have to want them to be very connected. Where, let's say they want to shoot you, but only at a close enough range, right? So they move towards you until they're within a certain range, and then they shoot at you and try to maintain that range. Or they do a thing with like they dash. That's like part of their movements. Like they dash and then they attack and then they dash and like alternates. But the timing is synced up together. So their AI and their bullet patterns are kind of the same thing. Although some of the enemies would probably just be like, if you're close to them, they just shoot at you, and then they have, you know, whatever movement they do. That they're not necessarily connected in any way. They shoot at you if you're close, and they also just move around. I think that'd probably be a way that I'd want to do it. Part of the AI is like, hey, do this attack pattern. And that attack pattern is either just like, just shoot, just shoot these bullets, or like, it has to meet certain requirements, like if you're within this range, then shoot, or if you're within line of sight or whatever. I'm going to need to spend a lot of time actually trying to work on the game. And then maybe I'll know what I'm talking about a little bit. And see what are actually the problems that I run into, what are the parts can I figure out. I'm doing this for like maybe the third time where I take a project and I start it from scratch to try to like get it right. Instead of like piling garbage on top of garbage forever. I don't know if it's better to go up there immediately or go to the right first. It's small. I actually have reasonable expectations for what kind of games I'm able to make. What kind of idea is that? Feature creep? Never heard of it. I should show some of my older games on stream someday. Some of them are actually playable. Well, that's an exaggeration. There's one like platformer that I made, and I made like 2 levels for it. So technically, it is playable. Oh, there's another one. Did I show that one on stream with the tanks? I don't think. Maybe. I don't know. Technically, it's playable. You could like make like these tanks and like give them like different weapons and such, and then you fight against other tanks. Kind of cool. Thank you. This is not a real run, this is a practice, but I think it's going well. Thanks for stopping by. Always have very little charge left after this part. That was kind of slow. Did I talk about this ever on stream? I tried to make a mod for Terraria a while back, and I did not get anywhere. I thought it'd be so simple. I had such a simple idea. But I realized that it's more complicated than I thought, and I did not even start. Oops, that's the exit is right there. Pick a game that's easy to mod. I mean, my expectation is that I would be able to like copy paste code for other weapons and just modify them slightly. Like, hey, this weapon already exists. I just need to take this weapon, change the stats around, and bam, just use new content. You know. But I could not do that with what I was trying to do. And also, you don't just have access to the code immediately if you're making a mod. You have to like go and do that separately. Because for UFO 50, it was very easy to mod that game. Basically just like it lets you edit it in. It's not quite GameMaker, but it's basically like opening up GameMaker and just opening up the project and just changing whatever you want to. Except it's way more limited and laggy. I wasn't even really changing the code that much. I mostly just like added, I used like the room editor to like move some tiles around and place stuff in. But I guess if I wanted to change the code, it wouldn't be that bad. But it basically just gives you all the code right there just to mess with however you want to. 44, 13. Is this a good time? I don't know. Well, I think I've done an any percent run. Oh my gosh, I hate this website. Speedrun.com. Oh, this is the world record is 50 minutes. Surely, really? 44? Okay, I could probably improve this run. This was like this was a very average run. Oh, there was a Rivulet Pilgrimage run. That's hype. Anyway, yeah, that's gonna be the end of the stream. Hopefully, I think I'm mostly better. My voice is still like kind of, you can probably tell. I think at this point I'm getting better. I will be able to stream Tuesday, unless something crazy happens. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching and answering all my horrible questions. See ya.